Welcome to our world, or something a bit like it. Forget everything you think you know about King Arthur. There's no shining armor, no noble round table, just mud, blood, and a lot of spitting. The Winter King is not your average Arthurian tale, and that's what makes it so good. Today, we're diving into the brutal, grounded reimagining of the Arthurian legend, The Winter King by Bernard Cornwell, the first book in his Warlord Chronicles trilogy. This isn't the myth you heard of as a kid. Cornwell throws away idealism and magic and replaces it with tribal warfare. Set on the Isles of Britain, this series takes place around 500 AD and follows most of the same history as our own. Cornwell's take on the life of King Arthur, told through the eyes of Saxon-born warrior named Durfal Cadarn, the story is set in post-Roman Britain, during the invasion of the Angles and Saxons, where rival kings and warlords battle for control while Christianity clashes with older pagan beliefs. Arthur is one such warlord, and we see his rise from just a bannerman into a full warlord. Grounded and gritty, this trilogy offers the reader brutality and realism to the world of Arthur. All your favorite characters are here: Merlin, Lancelot, Guinevere, Mordred, and Morgan. As well, some supporting characters shine, such as Nimue, Cuneglass, and Galahad. The Winter King begins with the death of King Uther and the birth of his son Mordred. Arthur's oath to see Mordred to the seat of kingship is the crux of the story and drives the plot. Internal strife within the regions of Brittonic England, as well as the external invasion from the Saxons, provides context. Are you fucking kidding me? Cersei! Durfal narrates the events years after they occurred, giving the story a kind of reflective, myth-busting tone. Cornwell builds a world not unlike our own. However, the brutal nature of the land makes it feel quite foreign to the modern sensibility. Muddy and real, this rendition of 6th century Britain is full of mysterious religious zealotry, horrible acts of murder and sexual assault, and an odd sense of chivalry. Nimue's tragedy is probably the most compelling story of the book. She is written incredibly well. Arthur is sort of a side character in this, with Durfal, Nimue, and Merlin standing as our main protagonists. We are definitely following Arthur's story here, but it doesn't take away from the other characters. You meet Lancelot and Guinevere, and they are all well written and contribute to the sense of realness to the book. Cornwell writes with clarity and grit. The prose is fast-moving, but never dumbed down. There's a sense of mythic grandeur that wrapped in a brutal historic realism, and Durfal's narration gives it a grounded personal feel. I will say personally, this is the best man-to-man action that I've ever read. The small war brands make the shield walls feel real, complete with all the spitting you'll ever need in a book. The story moves deliberately, but it's never dull. It balances quiet political moments with vicious battles, and because it's written from hindsight, you're constantly aware of looming tragedy, even during moments of triumph. The writing at first can be very hard to read, unless you know Welsh or native Irish. This is because it's using many of the old naming conventions, such as DD being TH, that just don't translate well phonetically to the common language. Also, some of the most brutal scenes of death and sexual assault were very hard to read for me. This book might also not work for you if you don't like the idea of the Arthurian tale being so moved around. Some readers will not like the lack of traditional fantasy. It might be a little jarring with no dragons, no magic spells, and very little mysticism. The religious themes can be heavy at times, and if you're unfamiliar with post-Roman British history, it can be a little dense. However, if you read this first book and enjoy it, the rest of the trilogy only gets better. Enemy of God and Excalibur deepen the character arcs and crank up the emotional intensity to 10. My favorite moment from this book, with no spoilers, is the Isle of the Dead escape. Truly terrifying. The Winter King is a phenomenal opener to what might be the best Arthurian trilogy out there. It's thoughtful, brutal, political, and mythic. It was a 5 out of 5 for me at the time, and maybe even higher on a reread. I highly recommend it if you want fantasy with more grit and spit than glitter. Have you read The Winter King? What did you think of this version of Arthur? Let me know your favorite Arthurian retellings down in the comments. If you enjoyed this, subscribe for more deep dives in historical fantasy, grimdark, and epic series. I'll be covering Enemy of God soon, hopefully. You won't want to miss that one. Thanks for watching, and may your swords stay sharp and your alliances hold.